I think the option is not there to share. Can you please give that access?
Sir, I've made you the host, sir.
Yeah,
So,
just a second, ma'am. Yeah, I'm just trying now. Yeah.
okay.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm just opening. So, very good evening to all. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank the IoT Academy for giving this opportunity to discuss a few things about the quality publications, how we can write the quality papers. So I just welcome you all for the national level virtual refresher program on quality teaching and learning in higher education institutions. I myself, Dr. Prem Kumar from the Ansar College of Engineering, and today I have multiple topics to discuss, but whatever is possible within this the given time, so that way I'll discuss today. So first, I'll talk about the research awareness. So why the research is required or the research publications are required. So I just want to create one research awareness and the research ethics. So this is much required recently. Most of the people are doing research, but whether it is ethically correct or not, so that many of the people don't know. So I just thought of giving some kind of awareness on research ethics and the research guidelines. So what are the things to be followed? Okay, and how we can select the journal to submit the papers. Okay, so how to find the relevant journal. So that I'll just discuss, and if time permits, I'll discuss the last two topics, that is the research metrics and the research tools. So first I'll talk about the research awareness. So the very first thing, why? Because this is what the question in most of the Indian researchers' mind. Why I have to do the publication? So the very first thing, so I just listed very few key points of why the publications are required or the research publications are required. The very first thing, as everyone knows, it's a dissemination of the knowledge. When we do something, it has to be disseminated to the scientific and research community, because if we don't publish, or if we don't publish it, the paper or any conference or whatever it is, okay, if you don't disseminate it, and the people may not be knowing what is the new technology is, what is new in the respective field, so that the people may not be knowing it. So for this is the main purpose why we are going for a publication. And when we do the research, whether this research is going in the right way or the wrong way, so that has to be validated and that has to be peer reviewed. Right. So for that purpose, when we submit a paper to any of the journal, the paper will be peer reviewed by different experts, the different subject experts, and they'll be giving you a suggestion, so that you can start improve your the study, as well as you can start improve your project. That's what we do. So then the third one is advancements of science. So suppose if I create any scientific breakthrough, okay, I'm doing the research, but I just created some scientific breakthrough. So if we don't disseminate, or if we don't publish it, if we don't share it with anyone, so then the people may not be knowing what are the advanced technologies or what are the advanced scientific processes are happening. So that we may not be knowing it. And a career advancement, this is all required because we consider the publications only for this point, but apart from that, many other things are there. So the one of the very important and the known the importance of career advancement. Okay, so it may be for your the appraisal, or it may be for your incentive, or it may be for your promotions, okay, or it may be for your MTech degree or the PhD degree, or if you want to get some kind of academic recognitions, okay, in the scientific community or the research community. So for all these things, the applications are required. And nowadays, even the policy makers and the practitioners are started referring to the research papers, because as you know, in the research papers there is a experimental evidences, so though the people will be quoting the experimental evidences, and they could able to formulate the new policies and the practices. Okay, so that's all happening now. And moreover, the collaboration and networking is also possible when we do the collaborative research publication. So that is also possible. And finally, to say it's a permanent record of any kind of a study we do, it's a permanent record, and it may be useful for the future generation. So fine, because we are preserving it, then obviously that idea or the study or the project what we do, so that will be preserved for the future generation, so that they can refer to it and they can start their own research. So these are the primary reasons why we are going for the publications. And as you know, this is what the statement everyone says, publish our parents. So but if we are good at research, okay, and definitely even we can publish many papers. So the publication is not a matter, so that we can do it because we are doing a research. But only thing is, if we write it, if we structure it properly, then we can go for some good publication. So this pressure is not recently started. This pressure is there for almost more than 40, 50 years. It's a long lasting the pressure it's going on. So as I said, if we are good at research, then definitely the publication is not a matter, so we can publish and succeed. So this is what I just want to quote here. And what is a research paper? As everyone knows, if it is a publication, so we have different the versions of publications, like a research paper, review paper, short communication, some letter, some kind of different publications are available. But my focus is on the research paper. So the research paper is nothing but it is a paper which has the complete information about the particular study or the particular project. Okay, and with embedded or the experimental evidences. Because if you take the review papers, there may not be any kind of experimental evidences, but the research paper should have or must have the experimental evidences to prove the method what they proposed is better or not. Okay, so obviously uh, the research paper has the complete information about that particular research. Okay, and the review papers, as you know, it's a kind of a reviewing the different field or the different the field of study. Okay, what we can say. Again, the writing review paper is not easy. So writing research paper is easy, but writing review paper is not that much easy. So we have to do a lot of exercises before start writing the review papers. And when if you write any kind of research paper, okay, so what should be what are the things to be followed? So here I just put some kind of the points, the key points to keep it in your mind. So as I told you, we have different versions of publications, like research paper, review paper, short communications, letters, etc. But when we focus on write-ups, then there should be some kind of restrictions. The restrictions is like, if you write any papers, it should not be more than 12,000 words, it should be less than 2,000 words. Again, that depends upon which type of publications you focus. Okay, so sometimes even the number of words will be more than 12,000 words. Suppose if your paper is having a lot of statistical study, okay, then obviously, sometimes it will go more than 12,000 words also. That typically, if you take any research papers, the total number of words will be 4,000 to 8,000 words. But if it is a short paper or the letters or short communication, so that will be around 2,000 words, as I told you. And the long papers will be long papers in the sense it may be a review papers, sometimes it may be a statistical oriented papers. It may be crosses over 12,000 words. So, though we are focusing on number of words or the number of pages depends upon the journal policies, we should not compromise with the quality and the clarity of the content. So that is always very much important when you write any research paper or the review paper, any paper, whatever it is. Okay, so you should not compromise with the quality and the clarity of the content, but you have to look at the number, the restrictions with regard to the number of words and the page length of the paper. And finally, what are the structures to be followed when you write any paper? Okay, so first one, you should write the concise title. So mostly what the people are telling is the title what you are going to write that reflect actual content of the paper, and also it should not be more than 10 words. Okay, so it should be concise and informative. Okay, and it should reflect exactly the content of the paper. You should not give any kind of a generic things in the paper, the title, and you try to restrict yourself within to 10 words. Okay, that is always a must. And the next one is the abstract. So abstract is, as you know, it's a brief summary of any paper. Okay, and it will be around 150 to 250 words. This is again based on my own experiences and based on the guidelines given to the authors from many of the journal or many of the publishers. Based on that, these words are given. So mostly you try to focus the abstract within 150 to 250 words, and it should be a brief summary and the introduction and the literature survey. So the introduction, you have to see that nowadays, the most of the research papers, so it will be combining both introduction and the literature review section. So in the introduction section itself, what they will do is first two paragraphs they'll be talking about the field of research and the literature review, followed by the literature review, and followed by the research questions, and followed by the problem statement, and followed by the contributions of the paper. So everything will be there in the introduction section itself. Okay, but few people still they are following this format, like introduction one separate section and the literature review separate section. But what I feel and what I suggest to you is you try to combine both so that you can discuss many things at the backside of the paper. Okay, because if you have more number of sections also, there will be a question from the reviewer or the editor. So you have to be very careful when you form when you keep the number of sections also. And the methodology, as you know, the methodology is the heart of any paper. And here you should not discuss any known information. So whatever the unknown information and what you're trying to propose, okay, that need to be reflected in the methodology section with respect to the mathematical evidences. Okay, so this is as I said, it's a heart of the paper. If you make any mistakes here, then obviously most of the time we'll be getting a rejections from the journal. And the result section, so this is where we can keep the tables and figures. Okay, so and we can start giving because it's all these tables and figures are nothing but your evidences, or you can say the experimental evidences. Okay, and it has to be critically analyzed. Okay, and it has to be critically discussed in the result section, because simply keeping figures and tables will not work out. So you have to explain what you're trying to convey from the table and the figure, and what you got it, what you obtained from the tables and figures. Okay, everything need to be critically analyzed in the result section. And the next one is the discussion section. And this is where the most of the people are not keeping this section. So this discussion sections are always very important. And this section is very useful to interpret and analyze the results, what we discussed in the result section. And also we can discuss whatever the drawback and whatever the limitation or whatever the challenges we faced. Okay, or that method, what we propose, what are the challenges of that method, what are the limitations of the method. Everything will be disclosed in the discussion section. And we have finally the conclusion section. And the conclusion section will be summarizing the key findings and the implications. And also it's actually to say it's a concise summary, and you should keep it in mind always. The phrases in the abstract and the conclusion should be different. Okay, you should not use the same phrases. Okay, so it should be a different one, but it should be a concise summary. And also future extensions in the conclusion section itself, you have to write the future extension. That is also very important. Without future extension, then definitely the paper will not be accepted for the final publication. So future extensions are very important, and you don't need to keep a separate section for the future extension. That simply in the conclusion section itself, you can explain what are the future possibilities of the method what you proposed. Next one is the reference section. So in the reference section, so you have to list the number of papers what you have referred, and all those listed papers need to be cited in the text properly. Okay, without citing, if you list the references, it will not be having any meaning. So cite the papers in the text, and also you just list out whatever the references you have referred to it. Okay, and if you feel that any of the content is not required in the main text, okay, if you want to keep something at the back end of the paper, so that should be kept in the appendices section. So whatever you feel it's a supporting materials are available, so that you can keep it. And even if you feel that I don't want to keep it in the appendices section, okay, and there is an option in most of the journals called supplementary material option. So if you want to supply the materials, that also is possible, so that you can supply through the supplementary material section of the particular paper. Okay, it will not be published, but it will be archived in the respective journal. Okay, and these are the structures to be followed. Okay, then apart from that, now even nowadays the people started asking the author credit statements, the data availability statements, conflict of interest, competing interest. Okay, ethical statements. So many statements they'll be asking, some kind of declarations they'll be asking. So that also you have to put it as per the journal policy. Okay. And this is again the concise summary of the previous slide. So before giving the concise summary, so I just want to give you one more the point, that is a cover letter. So you have to focus, or you have to spend some time to write a good cover letter, because most of the time when you submit a paper, it will go to the editor-in-chief, and no, the editor-in-chief will not have enough time to read the complete paper. So they'll start reading the cover letter. So when you write a cover letter, you have to disclose what is the novelty and what's the scope of the paper with regard to the scope of the journal, whether it is matching or not. So if you disclose everything in the cover letter, so then obviously you can avoid all the disrejections. So always you try to have a good cover letter when you submit a paper. And this is what the concise summary what I told. So the title should not be more than 10 words. Okay, and abstract, you try to restrict yourself within 150 to 200 words. And try to combine the introduction, the literature review section. So you just make a thorough literature study. Okay, I simply don't discuss any known information. So what you're trying to convey from each paper that need to be reviewed thoroughly, and that need to be included in the introduction section. And the methods I told you, methodology section I told you, you be specific. Whatever the known informations are available, that known informations you please remove it, and whatever the unknown informations are there, so that you have to record it in the methodology section. Okay, and the result analysis. So you have to do the proper result analysis, the comprehensive analysis. You have to do it. Simply don't keep only the figures and tables. Whatever you keep, okay, that need to be analyzed properly. And also you try to avoid the unnecessary tables and figures. If you communicate something through the figure, the same thing should not be communicated as a table. And similarly, if you are communicating something through the table, that should not be communicated as a figure also. Okay, and the discussion sections. Okay, in the discussion sections, always you have to discuss about the findings, the limitations, and the challenges. And as I told, the conclusion section will be having the future extension also, so that need to be connected in the conclusion section, and it should be a concise summary. It should not be a lengthy discussion. Okay, and acknowledgement section, so the funding agencies, whatever is there, so that you have to disclose. And as I said, the data availability statement. Okay, then competing interest, everything need to be disclosed. Okay, and the references, this is again one of the very important thing. So for any research paper, if you write, minimum you try to refer to the 25 papers. Okay, again, so based on my own experience. Okay, and based on my own editorial and reviewing experiences, I'm telling you. So try to have the minimum of 25 research recent and current research papers, and for the review papers at least you should refer to the 100 recent and relevant papers. Okay, so this is what the concise summary. When you write any manuscript, you just keep these points in your mind and you start preparing your papers. And so tips on writing your manuscript. So always write your methods section first. Okay. And then write it clearly and concisely, and be precise when you write any kind of a paper, and avoid long sentences. Okay. Don't try to keep the sentences more than 2 3 lines. Okay. So try to avoid all the long sentences, and try to avoid, the official words. So you should use only the technical words. Okay, so the official communication words need to be avoided when you write any of the paper. Okay, or omit unnecessary words. And after writing all the paper, you take the paper and you print it and you read the paper aloud, so that you can come to know where we made a mistake, or if any grammatical mistakes or typo errors that we can easily remove when you read the paper completely from top to bottom multiple times. Okay, and this is one thing. So, and now I'll just focus on the research ethics. Okay. And this ethics is very important nowadays. This research ethics, it provides a proper guideline for the responsible conduct of research. Okay. So, we people as a educator, or the researchers who are conducting research, we have to ensure that our research is highly ethically standard. Okay, and because now we have the research ethics, some kind of a committees are available. Okay, so they'll be formulating some kind of a standards and codes, so we have to follow the codes. Okay, so if we are violating the codes, okay, your paper will be removed. Okay, and the paper will not be accepted even if it is published. Okay, even if it is published, the paper will be removed. Okay, so these ethical norms make the researchers very accountable for the quality and outcome of the research that may be directly or indirectly affect the public health and interest. So we have to follow the research ethics when you do any kind of research. Okay, and these are the points to be kept in mind when you write any paper. So we should avoid plagiarism. So it means simply we should not copy paste anyone's work. Okay, and you should may because something if you are doing it and there is a copyrighted material will be there. And when it is a copyrighted material, it's again a violation of the copyrights. That again, that penalty will big penalty will come to you. Okay, and be responsible for publishing what we are writing. Okay, and you try to have the proper data management. Okay, that is also very important nowadays. Okay, and when your research is related to the human subjects or the animals, you have to be you have to be very careful. So you should follow the lot of standards are available. Okay, when you're handling the humans, okay, again you have to take a lot of approvals. Even if you are handling some, if you are conducting some experiments on the animals also, you have to be very careful when you handle the animals. And also, it should be a whatever the work we have, it should be a honest work and the integral work. Okay, you have to be very careful, and respecting IPR and objectivity and the openness, and avoid all the scientific misconduct. Okay, so once you follow this, then obviously your paper will come into the good shape. Okay, as I told you already, the codes and policy makers. So I told you, so we have a different policy makers. Okay, so here I just listed all the policy makers. Okay, so it's the all these policy makers or the codes are not applicable to all the researchers. Okay, so the few things will be applicable to engineering, few things will be applicable to health sector, few things will be applicable to science. Okay, few things will be applicable to medicals. Okay, so it's all depends. Okay, so since I'm from the engineering background, so for us, the committee on publication ethics, that scope is the common. Okay, that need to be followed. So if we violate this ethical standards, then obviously the huge penalty will be there, and there may be a chance of blocking the publication in the respective journal or the publishers. Okay. Similarly, we have multiple codes in the policy makers are available. For example, if we take FDA, that is only for Food and Drug Administration. So similarly, we have the International Committee of the Medical Journal Editors. So we have like this. We have so many correct the policy makers. Okay. And now coming to the ethics, what are the ethics to be followed when you write any paper? Okay, and what are the unethical thing? So that I just listed here. Okay, again, it is taken from one of the paper in the elsewhere, which is published. Okay, and it's mostly the guideline given by the elsewhere journals. Okay, and here I just listed the first action, the misrepresenting a scientist relationship to the work. Okay, so here what actually we do is when one person is involved in the research, we'll be knowingly or unknowingly will not be including that person name. Okay, or sometimes when the people will do very less work and will be adding their name in the paper. So these are all coming under unethical thing. Okay, and also the next one is ghost authorship. So that ghost authorship also we have to see that when we write any paper. Okay, when we write any paper, we are actually to say we are not the native English speakers, right? So for even we started writing the papers in English, but when some countries like China and the Russia, and also they'll speak only the Chinese language. So when they write the papers also they'll be writing in the Chinese. So what they will do, they will recruit some people for they'll recruit some professional writers for It's though it's a paid based. Okay, so they will not be acknowledged. Those people will not be acknowledged in the paper, and those people will not be added as the one of the author. So though they have not, they have involved. Okay, so that we call it as a ghost authorship. Okay, and we should acknowledge them properly. If we don't do it, then again that comes under the unethical activity. And the next one is the gift or the guest authorship. So this is again, so since he or she is my friend, so I'll just include his name. That is again, you should not do that. Okay, unless if that author is providing some kind of valuable contributions, you should include that XYZ fellow name in the paper, or else you should not include. So if you include without any of the contribution, that we call it as the unethical activity. Okay, and the next one is the competing interest. So here, there are two different things. One is undisclosed funding sources. Okay, so that is again one important unethical activity, because one of your research may be funded by one funding agency, that if it is not properly acknowledged in the paper, so that comes under the unethical activity. And undisclosed relationship. Okay, so when you submit a paper, the journal, sometimes they may ask you to give the list of reviewers. So we have to disclose the relationship between the reviewer and the author. If you don't do it, again, that is also coming under the unethical activity. Okay, so the plagiarism. So again, we have the plagiarism means what we call it's just copy pasting, but in the plagiarism also multiple levels are there. So one is a literal copying. Okay, so it's just reproduction of the same thing word by word, will copy and paste it, so that we call it as a literature copying. Okay, that 200% we should not do that. Okay, and the next one is a substantial copying. Okay, so it means the part of the matters will be copied from the other paper, that will be kept in the paper. Okay, and the paraphrasing, that is reproducing someone else's ideas while not copying word for word without permission acknowledgement of the original source. So simply paraphrasing the ideas what others have proposed, that is also coming under the unethical activity. And the text recycling, so this is called reproducing the portions of the author's own work in a paper and resubmitting it for the publication as an entirely new paper. So already one paper is published. I'll take the same content, I'll rephrase it, and I'll publish the other paper. Okay, that we call it as a text recycling. So again, that is a unethical activity. We should not do that. Okay, and the simultaneous submission. So when you do submission to one journal, you should not submit your paper to the other journal. You have to wait for the decision. Once the decision comes, then you have to go for the other journal. So if you do multiple submissions, okay, so then we call it as the unethical activity. The next one is the duplicate publication. When author submits a paper or the portion of his paper, okay, that has been previously published to another journal without disclosing the prior submissions. Okay, so when you submit any paper, no, or maybe the part of the paper has been published in somewhere. Okay, when you submit a new paper, maybe the part of the information is taken from that respective paper. So that need to be disclosed. If it is not disclosed, then that is again coming under the duplicate publication category. So again, that will be an ethical activity. And the duplication by paraphrasing or the text recycling. So when the author writes about the word research in the two or more articles from different angles or on different aspects of the research without acknowledgement of the original paper, again, that is also coming under, because you have to acknowledge the original paper. So from there only the concept has been derived. So if you don't acknowledge that original paper, then that is again coming under the unethical activity. Okay, and the next one is a translation. Okay, so as I told you already, few papers are published in their own native languages. So what the people will do, they will take those papers and they will translate, and that paper they'll publish in English publishing paper journals. Okay, so that is again, we should not do that. Again, that is again an ethical activity. Okay, the next one is the research frauds. Okay, so research fraud is a publication of data or the conclusion that were not generated by the experiments or the observation, but by inventions or data manipulations. Okay, so it is particularly dealing with the manipulation. So you should not do any data manipulation, and also you should not do any image manipulation. So when you write any paper, whatever you get the data, Okay, whatever you get the images, those images need to be reflected in the paper. You should not do any manipulation. If you do the manipulation, that comes under the research fraud. So again, that will be an ethical activity. Okay. Then finally, the salami slicing. So this is again a slicing of research that would one meaningful paper into the several different papers is called a salami slicing. Okay, so I'll write one paper, and maybe a few of my friends have suggested to split the paper into multiple papers. So that usually what we will do, we'll split the paper and we'll publish as a multiple paper. So one paper you have just written, they'll publish as a multiple paper. So that we call it as the salami slicing. So that we should not do that. Okay, so these are all the unethical activities to be avoided. Okay, and why we have to publish the paper ethically? So there are multiple reasons. One is it is this ethical publication ensures the scientific progress. Yes, correct, and it protects the life and the planet. Yes, correct, because when you write some paper, as I told you, based on your papers, the policymakers or the courts are made. So if you do mistake in your research, then obviously the practices or the codes what we write, so that will be a mistake one, and maybe that harms the planet. Okay, so obviously if you do the proper ethical research, then obviously it protects your life and the planet, and also it promotes the ethical behavior of that respective paper or the respective person, and it is also good for the reputation, and there is no way, so this is the only way to do it, so you have to follow the research ethics. Okay, so with this the research ethics are over. So now I'll just focus on the research guidelines. So, what are the research guidelines? So here, when you choose any journal, okay, we have when you choose any journal, what are the points to be considered? Okay, so the first point, what is the what audience do you want to reach? Okay, so this is again with regard to the scope of the journal and the audience of the journal. Okay, so because when we have more audience, then obviously the impact of your paper will be more. Okay, if the audience are less with respect to your field in that respective journal, then obviously the impact of your paper will be very less. So that's how when you choose any journal, you have to see what audience do you want to reach or the target. Okay, and the second one, how prestigious is the journal in your field? Okay, so it's again based on the number of metrics, the research metrics. Okay, so that we have to see how best the journal in your field. Okay, based on that, you have to select the journal. Okay, maybe the impact factor or the site score or the quartiles what we have. Okay, so based on that, we have to select the prestigious status of the journal, and you have to see how long the paper takes, how long the journal takes to publish the paper. Okay, that also you have to see. Okay, when you submit the paper today, if it is published by next 2 years, then it will say it's of waste. Okay, so if it is 3 4 months, it's a nominal period. Okay, so you have to see how long the journal takes to publish. Okay, and now you have to see the final one, how much does it cost? Okay, because now the most of the journals are moving towards the open access model. So when they go more towards the open access model, we have to pay the article processing charges. So when we pay the article processing charge, you have to see that whether that amount is affordable by us or not. Okay, well, if it is affordable by you, then you can go with that, or else we can go with the subscription model, because when you go with the quality publishers, there's two options. One is a subscription option and one is open access option. So open access, we have to pay the money. In the subscription action, we don't need to pay the money, but all the copyrights will be with the publisher. But when you do open access publications, all the copyrights are with you, but you have to pay the money. Okay, this is what the difference between open access and the subscription model. Okay, so based on all these criteria, you can select the journal. And the next one, again, one as I told you, based on certain criteria, the prestigious status of the journal will be considered. So the very first criteria is the indexing. Okay, and here in the indexing also we have multiple indexing databases. Like one is the Web of Science. So here we have the multiple indexing databases like SCI, SSCI, that is a Citation Index Expanded, Social Science Citation Index, and Emerging Sources Citation Index, and Conference Proceedings Citation Index. Okay, all these indexings are provided by the Clarivate Analytics, and the impact factor will be provided only by the Clarivate Analytics. In most of the local journals, okay, they have just displayed some numbers as the impact factor. Those impact factors are not correct impact factor. Impact factor means it should be provided only by the Clarivate Analytics. Okay, and in the SCA or the Web of Science journals also, we have a different quartiles like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and Q4. It's again based on top 20%, right? For top 50%, top 75%. So based on those criteria, these quartiles are classified. So this quartile and the Scopus quartile is having a different meaning. So both the quartiles are different. Okay. So the next one is the Scopus database. So the indexing database. So this is again given by the elsewhere. So here the Scopus, the journals are assessed by the site score. Okay, so based on the site score, the prestigious status of the Scopus journals are assessed, and also the quartiles. Okay, and here also we have different quartiles like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and this Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 is completely different from the first. So Web of Science Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Okay, both are different thing. Okay, for example, assume that one journal is Q1 Scopus, okay, that may not be in Q1 scope, Q1 Web of Science, okay, it may be Q2, Q3, or maybe in Q1, okay. So that depends, again, that depends upon the status of the journal and, okay, the impact of the journal, but both are not same. Okay, that only have to keep it in mind. So apart from these two well-known, then other well-known indexing databases are Google Scholar. Okay, and the Google Scholar will be indexing all the journals, books, conferences, theses, dissertations, preprints, abstracts, technical reports. Okay, whatever the things are available, even the patents. Okay, everything will be indexed by the Google Scholar. Okay, and the least one is a Google Scholar, and the top layer is the Web of Science. Okay, the middle layer will be having a Scopus. Okay, then apart from these three well-known indexing databases, we have some more indexing databases like Ebasco, Cosmos, Medline, DOAG, Acompendex, PubMed, Aldrich Web. Okay, all these are other indexing databases. Okay, so but mostly the people will look at only the Web of Science, Scopus, and the Google Scholar indexing databases. Okay, so this is just for your reference. So based on these databases, you can check or you can select the journal for your respective paper. Okay, and next one is the periods of predatory journals and the publishers. So now, mostly, every day we'll be getting a lot of emails from the publishers that submit paper. It will be published in 1 day, 2 day. You have to pay some 30,000, 40,000 rupees. It will be indexed in Scopus, will be indexed in SCI. Like that, a lot of fake emails or spam emails will come. Okay, so those emails are coming from the no, it's coming from the predatory journals. Okay, so don't respond to it. Okay, if you want to publish any paper, go to the exact website of that respective journal and select a journal and submit your papers. Okay, so because all these predatory journals, what they have is they'll be having the same similar kind of a website, similar kind of all names of reviewers, editors. Okay, and ISSN number, everything, impact factor, indexing, everything. They'll keep it like a original website. They'll create a fake website even because of the marketing strategy. Even if I Google it also, and this fake site will come as the first. Okay, when I submit, when I search some journal, the fake site will come as first. Then what we feel, okay, this is the right website, and we'll start uploading the paper. Okay, once you upload the paper, maybe within 24 hours, you'll be getting a decision that your paper is accepted, and you pay $400 or $600 or $1,000 to publish your paper. So what usually we will think it may be your MTech paper or the PhD paper or some your master students papers. Okay, okay. So what we will do? Okay, they will let us pay the money and we'll publish. So they'll pay the money, they'll publish the paper in the encrypted mode. So it means that it cannot be indexed by any of the indexing databases. Even the paper is not there in the open access, nothing is done. Okay, so your paper will be wasted and your money is also wasted. So you have to be very careful when you select any predatory journals. Okay, so as I said, you have to be very careful. And these are the some links I have given. Okay, through these links, you can see that how many the predatory journals are available. So maybe you can refer to this websites, or you can just go there and you see that some journals are listed, okay, as a predatory journal. So just be careful when you select those journals. Okay, so if you want to submit any of your research to a trusted journal, what do you do? What you have to do is you check with your colleagues whether your colleagues knows this journal. Okay, and you try to identify and contact the publishers directly. And is the journal clear about the type of peer review and fees charged? So there should not be any hidden information over there. Okay, they have to disclose everything. And is it possible to recognize the editorial board given in the respective website? And what I'm suggesting is try to focus on the quality publishers like IEEE, Springer, elsewhere, ACM, okay, and Wiley, Taylor, and Francis. If you focus on those kind of repeated publishers, and these problems will not come. You can avoid all these kind of predatory journals. Okay, and as I told you, when you write any paper, the conflict of interest that is very much interest required. Okay, and the author contribution statements. So nowadays, the author contribution statements are very much compulsory. You have to keep it. If you don't keep it, then your paper will not be published. So you have to disclose what is the contribution of each and every author of the paper what you listed. Okay, so that is done. And if any financial fundings are there that need to be disclosed in the financial interest, so you have to be very careful with that. Okay, and when you before submitting, so just read the instructions for authors and prepare the cover letter. Make sure the paper conforms the journal guidelines. So just try to go to the author's guideline. You see that whether all the papers what we prepared is as per the guideline. And after that, you are, and also make sure that this paper is not submitted in any other journal. And also, finally, if the journal asks for, you try to give some side of quality qualified potential reviewers, maybe possibly you try to take the contact details of the authors which you referred. Okay, that is, and your references list, you'll be having so many authors, right? So you can refer to any of the authors and you can give their detail as the reviewers or potential reviewers, so that you may get some kind of a good quality comment for your paper to improve the quality. Okay, and as I told you, you try to avoid the multiple submissions. Okay, don't do that. Okay, nowadays even the journals are having a lot of checkpoints to check the multiple submissions. So if they come to know that you are doing a multiple submission, they'll be banned you to submit the papers to the respective journal or the publishers. Okay, you have to be very careful where you don't do any multiple submissions. Submit the paper, wait for the decision, and once the decision comes accordingly, you go for the next one or you go with the same one. Okay, and the plagiarism, so again, it has to be completely avoided. Okay, so before sending any papers to the journal, so it has to be scanned completely with a professional plagiarism tool. So here I just listed two professional tools, like one is Authenticate, other one is Eternity. Okay, try to use these professional tools to scan your paper. Okay, and if the plagiarism percentage is of within the level prescribed by the journal, then you can take it forward and you can publish the paper, you can submit the paper. Or else, if you find more similarity and you try to remove the similarity and just try to reduce the similarity and submit the paper. Okay, and final check. Okay, and you check whether all the components are included as per our initial discussion, and whether the paper is written in the proper style as per the guidelines given by the journal, and check for the grammatical mistakes and the typo errors. Okay, and whether all the authors, whatever you listed in the paper, whether they have read the paper and approved the final version. Okay, you check it, then finally, if everything is over, yes, we will be going for the submission. Okay, so again, when you go for the submission also, then we'll see that how best, which journal to select, what to select, okay, where to submit. So that questions will come. Okay, so for that, nowadays we have a lot of AI recommendation tools. So the journal finding tools are available, but here I just listed few. Okay, IEEE publication recommender, elsewhere journal suggested, journal suggested by Taylor and Francis, and Wiley Journal Finder. Okay, and these are with respect to the specific publishers, and these two, the Journal Guide and the CW Author Survey. So these two are the common one. So it will be listing the other journals also. Okay, but these five will be discussing, or it will be showing only the respective the publishers journals. It will be listing. So I'll just give you one simple example. Okay, so I'll just go to elsewhere journal finder. Okay, so this is the site. Okay, so here with this you can find the respective journal for your paper. So here what you need is you have written the paper, you have the abstract of the paper with you. Okay, so what I do, I'll just open one paper and I'll just put the abstract there, so that you'll come to know. So I just open one paper. So I just took one paper. Okay, and I just copy paste this abstract. Okay, whatever is written. So assume that this is written. It's not my paper. It's written by one of the author. Okay, I just took it for my reference. Okay, so I just took it and I copy and pasted here that abstract what I have prepared. Okay, what that authors have prepared. So that I just copy and pasted. Okay, and I'm just clicking the find journals. Okay, so when I click the find journals, because these recommendation systems are using some kind of AI tool, so it will check with respect to the abstract what we provided, and it will check the abstract what is published already. So it will check, and finally it will be giving the recommendations. Okay, it will be giving the recommendations like this. You can see that as I told you, when you select the paper, you have to see some the metrics, you have to see some kind of acceptance rate, we have to see the time, and we have to see the cost. Okay, all these things we have to see. So that's what here it is written. You see that the site score of this is actually a CA and a Scopus indexed journal. Okay, and 10.8 is the site score. It's very, very good site score, and the impact factor is 5.8. It is good. It's more than 5. It's very good impact factor. And you see that acceptance rate, it's only 17 percentage. So this is again one warning point. Okay, so 17 percentage acceptance is very low. Okay, and they'll be taking only 5 weeks for the first decision. That is very good time period. Okay, and the time to publication, that is from the day of the acceptance to the publication. So they will take 3 weeks of time to publish. Okay, so it's all quite good. Okay, only thing is the warning sign is 17 percentage acceptance rate, so that we have to see. Then now we see that I told you to check the affordability, the article processing charge. Okay, so this journal now, actually it was a subscription journal. Recently, it is turned to be open access journal. You see that if I want to publish paper in this respective journal, I have to pay $3,500. Okay, so if I pay $3,500, my paper will be published. Okay, and if you see the other journal next one, one more suggestion also, because it gave so many suggestions. Okay, I took the second journal. You see the size score is very good than the previous one, and impact factor is very good than the previous one. Acceptance rate is also good compared to the previous one, and the time is also comparatively same. And you see the open access fee is 4,100, but this is having one option called subscription. Okay, this is what the free publication, what we call it as. Okay, so here there won't be any publication charge, but yeah, the complete copyrights are with the publisher. Okay, so likewise you can select any journal, so that depends upon your paper level. You can check the respective journal. Okay, and you can submit a paper. Okay, so likewise we have many recommendation system. You try to refer any recommendation systems and check find the suitable journal for your paper and submit it. And this is the final peer review process. So once the paper is submitted, it will be assessed by the editor-in-chief, and there may be a disk rejection, or it may be sent to the subject editor. Again, subject editor will do the assessment, and they will send to the reviewer, and the reviewer will be reviewing it once based on the reviewer comments, whether it is accepted or rejected or revision. If it is accepted, it will go for the publication, production publication. If it is rejected, that's it. If it is further review is required, so it means that revision is required. Again, once again, the author has to submit a paper, and it will be going for the assessment, and it will be reviewed by the reviewers. Then finally, it may be accepted or it may be rejected. Okay, this is what the complete review process will happen in the journals. Okay, Then finally, we have to see whether the paper is accepted or rejected. So if it is accepted, be happy. If it is rejected, then go for the next journal. That's it. Okay. So I think the time is over. I'll just stop my presentation here with my the acknowledgement. I just want to give the acknowledgement. So with my acknowledgement, I'll just close the session. Yeah. So this is what my acknowledgement. So I acknowledge that the contents of other peers whose contents are being used to comprehend the subject better, and I do so solely for academic purpose. I do not claim any ownership of any of the contents of the other peers. Okay, with this acknowledgement, I would like to complete my session. So if you have any questions, it is open for the discussion. You can